Many investors are eager to restart the U.S. economy, but could doing it too soon lead to more damage than good? With us now is Stephen Moore, an economic advisor to President Trump. Stephen, always good to speak with you. Thanks for taking a few minutes here this morning. You actually, I believe, argue that the administration is late in restarting the economy. Why and why restarting now would be the right choice?
Well, we should have probably started a couple of weeks ago in terms of getting the economy open in areas that haven't been heavily hit by the coronavirus. Let's not forget the coronavirus is an urban disease. It's about 12 or 13 major urban areas that have been hit with the vast 90% of the cases. So there are whole counties in the United States that are pretty much unaffected or just very minorly affected by coronavirus. So we should certainly get those areas open. And obviously you need to do this in a way that protects the most vulnerable populations. We know about 80 to 90% of the deaths are people over the age of 75 and people have chronic conditions and some other health problems. So we should be certainly keeping those people separate and then opening up other parts of the zip codes and counties that it's safe to do so. And I believe that is going to start this week in several states like Texas and Tennessee and Idaho and some of those red states.
But Stephen, you're getting a lot of criticism for what you're saying, that, we should start opening the economy sooner rather than later. Shouldn't it really be based on science here? Should the doctors, be telling us, hey, look, it's safe enough? Because you're talking about states that might not have big coronavirus numbers, but don't we run the risk if we come back online too soon, that those areas could become infected and this thing's going to balloon again?
Well, it's mostly places with a very heavy, concentration of people. That's the way it is with every pandemic that's hit our country in the last 150 years. These are major urban areas that get negatively affected. And by the way, I live in one of those at Washington, D.C. and obviously New York. I travel there twice a week, or I used to. I'm not doing it now. So we ought to be smarter. But you're right about the science. We should obviously pay attention to the science, but we should also pay attention to what's happening to the American society. The least among us, the people at the very bottom of the income ladder, are just being destroyed by this. Small businesses are being destroyed. We have 23 million people unemployed. If we keep locked down till the middle of June, as my not so smart governor in Virginia is talking about, you're going to have 40 million people unemployed. I mean, at what point do we say, wait a minute, we are destroying our society. We're destroying the livelihoods of people. You can't have a society without people producing things. So we have to, what I'm arguing for is be smart about it, be very targeted about it, and let's get up and running, because the we're talking about a potential Great Depression that could last a few years. I think a lot of Americans believe, gee, when this is over in 4 or 6, 8 weeks, I'll just go outside and it'll be just like it used to be. And it won't be, because you'll have so many businesses that have failed, and it's going to take a long, long time to get the economy up and moving again.
Stephen, isn't being smart about it having the timing right? Meaning, we had a doctor on just before you. I don't know if you were able to hear that segment, but this ER doctor in LA was talking about how important it is to have that antibody test to understand who has immunity before you start to unlock parts of the economy. Is that a key part to reopening the economy in your eyes?
Look, I'm very respectful of people with health and medical knowledge that I certainly do not have. So they're providing us with the best health information. And I'm an economist. What I would say to these doctors is, I agree that it would be a wonderful thing if we had all the testing, we had treatments, and we had vaccines, and we all want that. I've heard some people say, even a couple of governors saying, maybe we should wait till we have vaccine. I mean, that's obviously absurd, right? That would be, we wouldn't have an American society left if we did that. We would destroy the economic infrastructure of our country. So we have to calibrate the economy, and we have to calibrate the health risks. And that's where I'm saying we be smart about it. And I think we should also consider that every day that this is like, everybody's familiar with the charts of the spread of the virus, that it goes geometrically. Well, that's what happens with the economy. It's not a linear relationship. Every day we keep the economy shut down, the damage gets so much worse. And yes, I'm concerned about the body bags. What is the number now? 40,000 or so people have died. We're going to see body bags of small businesses that have been destroyed and that can never be resurrected if we don't act quickly.
Stephen, you mentioned just earlier the D word, depression. Do you think we're in a depression, and what does the economic recovery look like if you do think we are in one?
So that's a great question. What I told the president is, I'm on a part of his economic task force. And when I spoke to him last week, I said, if we could, this is, apropos to the question that was just asked about why it's so important to get things open quickly, because I do think if we could get things opened on a rolling basis starting now, this week, and at the latest May 1st, I really think by late summer, we could potentially start. The summer is going to be a disaster. No, under any scenario, this summer is going to be really brutal. But I do think you could start to see by late August, early September, the signs of a recovery where people feel better about things. But if we wait until June or July, you can write off not just 2020, but the first half of 2021. I mean, you're talking about real devastation. So that's why I've been such a bull on getting the economy open quickly, because it's just heartbreaking. And you see what's happening with the food lines, with people at the Salvation Army trucks in some cities a mile long. I mean, we're facing real deprivation here that is doing significant damage, and the human toll is growing with each passing day.
Hey, Stephen, you recently compared those who are protesting against these social distancing efforts to the iconic Rosa Parks during the civil rights situation. You got a lot of criticism for that. Would you walk back those comments at all, or you still stand by them?
Well, Rosa Parks is someone I wrote the reason I mentioned Rosa Parks in my comments to some of these protest groups is I think I agree with you. She's one of the great iconic figures. She's a hero of mine. I wrote my senior thesis on civil disobedience in America. And I talked about the great, David Henry Thoreau and people like Rosa Parks, who brought about social change by protesting injustice. And I believe there's great injustice going on a lot of states where I've talked to religious leaders, they're shutting down church services on Easter Sunday. The idea of people spying on their neighbors, the idea that you've been denied as an American your right to make a living and to run a business. I mean, those are real fundamental civil liberties that are being violated. And what I'm trying to say is, people who are trying to protest against these violations of our rights, because we all agree that our rights are being, pretty trampled on in a way that I never thought I'd see in America, that people should take to the streets in a safe way. One of the things I've told the protesters, and I'm not running these protests by any means, they're spontaneously combusted all over the country, is do it in a safe way, do it with social distancing, do it with gloves and masks, and make sure you're protecting your health and the health of other people. But it is really so important, in my opinion, that people around the country in states like Michigan and Wisconsin and Colorado, where the rights have been violated, that people have their rights, have the right to protest.
All right, let's leave it there. Stephen Moore, economic advisor to President Trump. Always good to speak with you. Stay safe out there.
Thank you. You guys too. Thanks for having me.
Hey investors, Zach Guzman here. Are you interested in learning more about the markets and getting the latest financial news? Well, then click right here to subscribe to our Yahoo Finance YouTube channel. Get the latest up-to-the-minute market analysis, big interviews in the world of finance, and information on how to manage your money every day wherever you are.